Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm live. I'm in the studio. You know what to do by now. Get involved in the comments in the chat. Let us know what you think about the latest Manchester United news. We're going to be getting into all the breaking stories. And to be honest with you, we're going to focus on one story. And it's the big one. This broke last night. You know what I'm on about. It's there behind me, there. It's this story that came from The Sun, yeah? I'm going to explain myself in a minute. Why, Jay, why are you sat here talking about stories from The Sun? Hashtag don't buy The Sun. But everyone's chatting about it and it'd be remiss of me to just ignore it, so we'll get into it. The news was that the Glazers prefer the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid and that an announcement could be made within days, and it's more or less now that he's going to be the next owner, according to this report. We're going to get into it anyway, but make sure you're hitting like, share and subscribe and getting involved in the comments. Now, this came from Martin Lipton and Dan King in The Sun last night. It's being reported elsewhere. They all seem to be quoting this story. Other newspapers, I've seen it in the Express, I've seen it in the Daily Mail. We've got the story here. I mean, it's not much better, is it? But we've gone with the Daily Mail one. So you can see here, it says Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the preferred bidder for the Glazers as they look to sell Manchester United, with Brits bid of over $5 billion, with American family remaining as minor shareholders, winning out over Sheikh Jassim bid, Hamad Al Thani full takeover. So the idea here is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to bid. I think it's saying there that the possibility of, or the way this could look is he buys 50%, so he becomes the majority shareholder, but the Glazers still have a minority stake in the club. Now, a lot of people are going to be upset about this because they wanted a full sale. Now, there's a bit of a argument going on social media. I saw this morning. There's a lot of division, a lot of anger, and a lot of sort of falling out on socials between Manchester United fans, and it pains me to see it because I've seen people that I know personally arguing with one another this morning, sort of going at each other, and there's been this sort of debate, if you can call it that, about even what full sale means. Because we saw with the group the 1958, and I've promoted their protests, I've took part in them, where it said full sale only. Now, some people have took that to mean 100% sale. Now, that's not my understanding of it from the conversations I've had with certain members of that group. And from what I've seen them tweet as well, is that the full sale meant the full Glazer sale. So that's 69% of Manchester United. That's what the Glazers own, and that's what the 58 and others have been advocating for when they say full sale. So there's that element to it, because some people have looked at it and gone, well, if full sale means 100% and only Sheikh Jassim is the man offering 100%, then full sale means we want to sell to the Qatari bid, if we can call it that. But that isn't the case. I think there's been some sort of miscommunication or misunderstanding here, from my take on it anyway, on what that means, and everyone's just assumed this means the people protesting and calling for full sale are calling for the Qatari bid to be successful. They might want the Qatari bid, they may prefer the Qatari bid, but that isn't the point of that process, and that isn't what full sale only means. That's my understanding of it anyway, so I'm trying to pick through that. Now you've got to the point where Sir Jim Ratcliffe is offering, or apparently is offering 50% with the Glazers and minority stakeholders. That's obviously not full sale, so that's got a lot of people angry. People saying, well, that's not what we want the Glazers gone. The flip side to that is some people would say, well, them not having control, because if they're in minority, they don't have control of the club, so Jim Ratcliffe does. That is better than them having control, and that's better than them, say, selling to Elliott Management Group, or Aries, as the other ones are called, where they still keep control and they sell a minority stake. So there's lots to unpick through here, and there's lots of caveats, and people be upset or annoyed. The first thing we have to discuss before we get into any of that, and I will get into your comments because I know there's loads of you commenting, is how reliable is this source? So as soon as I see The Sun, I've not even got The Sun up there because I won't put it on the screen. I've gone with the Mail, and you could argue, it's different shades of poo, but hashtag don't buy The Sun. Now, this has come from Martin Lipton and Dan King, like I said earlier. I don't know a lot about Martin Lipton and Dan King. I do know one thing about him. He did have a story about Mourinho returning to Chelsea, and this was about 12 years ago. And he was, I think, if the maths is right, he was probably proven right. And he was asked about his sources, and he got into a bit of a spat. I think this was on one of the Chelsea channels, and he went viral. This is years ago. This is like 2011, I think it was. He went viral, and this is the clip that I always remember him for. I think we've got a clip here.
Who have you been speaking to?
I'm not going to tell you. Don't ask. There's no point in going this conversation.
No,
Look,
it is.
Everyone knows the game.
Because what you're...
Patrick knows the game. You know the game. You're being silly. Stop being silly.
Why am I being silly?
Stop being silly.
Why am I being silly?
Because you are.
So yeah, you're being silly. Stop being silly. That's all I remember from Martin Lipson. I know he's written a lot of books. I know he writes for The Sun. I don't have a lot of respect for people that write for The Sun, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't know a lot about Dan King, who's the other person who's got the byline for this story. I will say this. Just because it's in The Sun doesn't mean it's not right. They do get things right. Like, I've seen the date and the day on The Sun, and sometimes that's right. Not always. So they can get stories right, but I wouldn't hang my hat on this. I wouldn't say, well, that's it. This isn't Ornstein or Mitten or Laurie Whitwell or one of the journalists or Simon Stone, one of the journalists I usually think is pretty accurate. This is someone who I haven't really got much of an opinion other than a viral clip that was doing the rounds 10 years ago or whenever it was. So I don't know. It's just interesting that they've gone with this. Now, have you got the back page there, producer Ethan, of The Sun? We've got the back page of The Sun because some people have pointed this out, and it is quite an interesting sort of side to this, that a story of this magnitude, if you've got the breaking news story that Manchester United's new owner is more or less confirmed, you know who the next owner of one of the biggest clubs in the world is going to be, you've got the scoop, you've got the story. That, for me, goes on your front page. That goes everywhere. That is absolutely plastered, certainly all over your back page. Now, The Sun didn't do that. It had a little sort of corner of the back page, from what I gather. I mean, I didn't buy The Sun this morning. I've seen it on social media doing the rounds. It was a tiny little corner in the sort of top left of the back page. Give us a shout when you've got it. There we go. Can we have that on the screen? Yeah. So you can see there, Jim in United Boost. So that's what they've gone with. So that, it seems a little bit odd that they've not gone bigger. Now, maybe they got that story late and they'd already had the back page sorted. That can happen sometimes, but I don't know. It just seems a little bit odd. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what to make of all this. I don't know whether to say this means anything or it's completely meaningless. I'm veering towards the idea that it doesn't really mean a lot. I don't think there's enough credibility here to go, this is it. Sir Jim is definitely the next owner of Manchester United. Because I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that The Sun could run a story tomorrow going, Sheikh Jassim's 11th hour bid to usurp Sir Jim. And they run a story saying Sheikh Jassim has made an 11th hour bid to try and get control of Manchester United and he's contacted the Glazers directly or something like that. That could happen. And then they'll get another, can we get rid of that as well? Thanks, producer Ethan. They'll get another news cycle based on their story. So you know what goes on. And that wouldn't surprise me because I just feel it's a bit odd, all this. And it's a bit odd that people that aren't necessarily associated with Manchester United reporting and haven't really been known as breaking big stories are the two journalists that have got this. And also the fact that The Sun hasn't really hung its hat on this story. It's sort of gone, look, we've got this story. Here's a little bit on the back page. Turn to page 62, whatever, to get the full story. Very odd. Maybe I'm wrong. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Just let me know what you think. Hit the like button as well. Please hit that like button. I can see in the comments already that there's a lot of sort of division. There's a lot of people saying they don't want Jim Ratcliffe, they don't want this, they don't want that. David Harrington says, even under Glazers, we've spent as much as... Oh, God, I've lost that already. Oh, there you go. We've spent as much as City. It's not how much we are spending, it's how it's spent. If Sir Jim removes the debt and stops the Glazers having a say, I'm okay with that. So that's one argument that I've heard being made. And it's a fair argument. That's the problem is if you say something like that now, you get hammered. What do you mean? I want the Glazers gone. But I understand that trail of thought that if they've not got any say and we get rid of the debt, and we invest in not just the team but also I think the stadium as well, that's okay. But no, a lot of people aren't for that. They just want the Glazers gone completely. And again, you understand it there. Bill O'Reilly, who's been a member of the Academy for 17 months, says, dapper tracky there, Jay. Not sure it's age appropriate, but you do you, fella. So it's age appropriate. What's that mean? Is there a time limit when you can wear a tracksuit? How very dare you? Although he did put kisses on the end of his message, so I'll let him off. Gunny89 says, surely the Sun haven't got the exclusive and other people would have the story as well. I don't know. It seems unlikely, doesn't it, that the Sun have got this. Santa Notch says binary reactions are way too common now. Yeah, I've seen a lot of this. And now it seems like you're either Qatar or you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And also, there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with preferring one bid over the other. I understand that. If you prefer Qatari bid, I get it. Because I've always said I'm not into sports washing. And if this is sports washing, I'd be against that, really. I don't want sports washing at my club, right? I said that before Qatar was even linked with us. Now, you might say, well, it's not sports washing because this is an individual. It's not the Qatari state. And I've got nothing against anyone from Qatar or the Qatari state. I just don't want a state owning us, basically. I don't like sports washing. However, you could say, well, it's not. It's an individual. I think that's a bit naive, if we're being honest. But I don't criticise or question anyone that does want the Qatari bid or does want to be state-owned. That's up to them. They might have a different opinion on it. That's fine. And I get it that the fact that you've got this massive cash injection, which you presumably would have you view as state-owned by one of the richest states in the world, then you're going to be able to do the stadium, buy all these players and all the rest of it. I get it. It just leaves a big sour taste in my mouth for us to have gone down that route of City and Newcastle. And I know the different countries as well. I've got to hasten to add that. But I don't criticise people that want that are advocating for that. I've got friends who want that. I've got family members who want that. And I'm not exactly keen on Sir Jim Ratcliffe either. I'm sort of stuck, really, to be honest with you. I just want the Glazers gone and then we can deal with the fallout afterwards. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe, a few months ago, or 6-7 months ago, was like the saviour, according to a lot of United fans. I remember sitting here doing a live stream when he was doing a Q&A with Ineos, when he was doing this Q&A, just being asked about his business and all the rest of it. And he was asked about United, and it was a Monday night, whenever it was, about 7 o'clock, and we went live and we did it. And everyone in the comments was saying, we need Sir Jim. He said United out for sale. He said he was a United fan and all this stuff. And everyone was sort of saying, we want Sir Jim to come in. And now I see a lot of people saying they don't want Sir Jim. Now I get things change and you find out more information and opinions can change. Nothing wrong with that. I've changed my opinion countless times over unsold subjects. So I get it. It has become so divisive, and it has seen a lot of people going, 1 minute he's great, next minute he's not. 1 minute we don't want to be staying on, next minute we do. And people are entitled to change their mind. I just feel this whole idea of hammering people if they don't agree with you, hammering people. I think the one sort of common denominator here is we all want what we think is best for Manchester United Football Club. Now, you may disagree on which way to go about it, but we all want United to be successful. We all want to have a stadium that's fit for purpose. We all want to be debt-free or not have these massive debt repayments and be paying dividends to the owners. I think those are sort of common denominators when it comes to United fans, and I understand that because it's so emotional as well. It's something about, this is your club, this is something that you love dearly. I think Andy Mitten said it. We did a Glazer documentary, and he made the point, if you go to a supermarket, if you go to Sainsbury's, other supermarkets are available, and then Tesco's slash their prices, you might start going to Tesco's. It's not the same with United. If you're a United supporter and City start winning trophies like they have done, you don't go and support City, and if you do, you're not a United fan. Or if City's cheaper, you go and watch City. You don't do that. It's different when it's a club. It's something that you love and something that you've got an emotional connection to. So I understand why people are getting so sort of worked up about it. I've been the same. I don't want to sound all sort of, let's all hold hands across the ocean or whatever. It just saddens me when I see so many people arguing with each other, and now we've become so divided because some people want this bid and some people want that bid. What I will say about the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid is if it does keep the Glazers even as minority stakeholders, there's going to be a lot of people who are against that. There will, because the full sale only idea has been pushed by quite a lot of people, so they're not going to be happy even if the Glazers don't have a say in the club. Even if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to invest in a team, invest in a stadium, do all the things we want him to do, there's still going to be people who are going, well, the Glazers are still here, and we don't want that now. There was a talk that maybe this bid could be with a view to removing the Glazers within a few years. It's not the end of the world if they're gone in 2026 or whatever, but it's not ideal, and I don't think that's going to satisfy a lot of people. The Glazers are almost gone, but we've just got to wait a few years. A lot of people are going to be like, no, we want them gone now. And again, it's understandable because we've had 18 years of it. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think. I Know Nothing says more debt and debt. Andrew Miller says people have turned on Sir Jim Ratcliffe because of the reports the Glazers will maintain a share. I'm sure he will want the Glazers out, but will take time. He can't be anti-Glazers publicly while negotiating. That's a good point as well. I think there was a story doing the rounds that the Glazers were unhappy with both Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe sort of putting out the narrative that they will restore United to former glories, because that insinuated that the Glazers had been awful for Man United and had basically wrecked the club, which they had. So you've got to have a bit of sort of PR around this, haven't you? Because you can't go too deep. The weird thing is as well, it's some of these stories that come out. 1 minute you say it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe, next minute you see it's Sheikh Jassim. 1 minute Sir Jim Ratcliffe's got the biggest bid, then it's Sheikh Jassim is bemused, I think was the story the other day, by the idea that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has a bigger bid than him. How many people actually know? Like, how many people are privy to what is going on with the Ray management group who are handling this bid? How many people are getting their information from one of the bidders or from their team, or maybe leaking a story? We don't know. I don't know anyway. You might know. Sean Brow says, hiya pal, top show, keep it up, but we really have to get the Glazers out completely. Understand that 100%. Thanks. Manish Bandari says, Jay, Sir Jim buying United means we're not winning a Champions League or the Prem for until at least 3 years. Can't compete with City and Newcastle in the future as well. There's one thing, right, I will say. Now, that might be right, the 3-year thing, I don't know. But I don't want to sit here and go, if the Qataris don't buy Manchester United, then we ain't winning anything. Because I just don't believe that. I think if whoever takes over, if they back this manager, if you don't back the manager, then you're right, we're not, then we can have success. Because I don't want to be sat here in a month if it's not been the Qataris going, well, that's it, I may as well stop bothering now because we ain't going to win anything. There's still ways that Manchester United can compete and challenge as long as we back the manager. I don't think it only has to be the Qatari bid. I'm not saying that if the Qataris take over, I'll say Qataris, I mean Sheikh Jassim, that we won't have success. I'm saying that if that doesn't happen, we can still. So I understand people having reservations about the idea that the Glazers are going to still be here, or that this is going to be a process that's going to take up to 3 years to fully get rid of them. This whole narrative that it's got to be Qataris, we're doomed. Maybe I'm just being overly optimistic. Abhinav Verma says, Ineos have actually improved the structure of Nice, so this summer will be interesting for them. Jay Cowder says, we want the Champions League and Premier League. Yash says, Sir Jim Glazer Ratcliffe. I've seen that being commented a few times, people saying things like that. And this is what you're going to have. You're going to have a lot of people just saying, look, this is just the Glazers. This is them staying. This isn't what we want. No, Jamie Gillespie says, you are aware that the guy who wrote the story on his Twitter says he's a clickbaiter. Right. I've seen this. Let me just go, because we tweeted. This is one of the guys that had the story. This is Dan King. So someone's saying in the comments there, Dan King, who, along with Myron Lipson, wrote the story, says, on his bio, it says, come for the football clickbait, stay for the half-arsed socio-political gush and 100% objective music, book and cultural musings, all views my own, etc. I don't really think that means anything, to be honest with you. I mean, I think he's being pretty honest. But yeah, I mean, again, you might look at that and go, well, okay, he's a clickbaiter, so he's just making it up. Fair enough, but I don't really put much weight behind that. I've already told you my thoughts on it. I don't think it's a story or journalists I can go, yeah, they're 100% telling the truth. And I think that it's borderline meaningless. Dale Gibson, who's been a member of the first team for 29 months, thank you for your support, Dale. So surely between all of us, we know someone unsavoury enough to go. I'm not going to read the rest of that. You can read that out. I get what you're insinuating there, but in the interests of our legal team, I'm not going to read the rest of it out because I might get in trouble, and we don't want that. But yeah, listen, I just would love it if United fans could just sort of, I don't know what the right term is, not, stick together. I think we all want what's best for United, don't we? Like I said earlier. The reason that you can always take these stories with a pinch of salt as well is there was another story doing the rounds. You've got the Express story there, producer Eve. There was this story doing the rounds as well. I think this is today. And it was talking about how Man United Takeover, Qatari's view on pulling out of deal if club missed top four. So yeah, this is from Jack Meachin. I don't know who that is. Oh, sorry, Jack McEachin. This is this morning, basically saying if United don't get top four, I think we can. The Qataris will still buy us, or Sheikh Jassim will still buy us. So you've got other stories going that could still happen, and again, it's journalists that don't really know a lot about, so it's difficult to know. I just feel there's so much. That's come from the Eye. It's quoted there in the Eye. that neither bid is contingent on United finishing the top 4 this season. Both Jassim and Ratcliffe would not be put off if United don't finish the top 4. If United don't finish in the top 4 and Liverpool do, well, it doesn't matter. Do you know what? I can't cope, man. Honestly. If we throw top 4 away, I don't think we will. I did a video the other day saying I don't think we will. I just hope I'm right. Jay Frascone says, Jay, removing principled objections to the Glazers based on resources alone, it's tough to see how Sir Jim Ratcliffe brings more than Qatar would. Clubs in Europe winning titles have mega wealthy owners. It is the reality of the money game. Well, the point is, though, a few months ago, everyone was saying that he was dead wealthy and that he could do all the things we wanted him to do. Everyone was saying that. I'm not saying they were right, but that was what I was hearing. We need Sir Jim Ratcliffe. That was what everyone was talking about. He's Britain's richest man. Get him in. He's going to get rid of the Glazers. He's going to do all this and we'll be happy days. And now it's like, well, no, if we get him, we're not going to win anything. I just find it all difficult at times to keep up with the sort of what a lot of people are saying in terms of how opinions shift so drastically. I've said it all along. I think Manchester United can compete if we get the Qataris in, and I think there's still a way we can compete if we don't. We might not have access to as much money if it's not the Qataris, because despite Sheikh Jassim saying he's an independent investor, I don't think he is, and I think you're going to be looking at the Qatari Wealth Fund, or whatever it's called, which is basically unlimited money. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I thought he was worth about 20 billion money, which would indicate that he's got money. So I don't know if he's not got the money, and this is just a continuation of someone else coming in, putting the name above the door, not investing in the team, not investing in the stadium, and keeping all the debt, or just moving the debt somewhere. Then a month before that, it just seems a bit strange that is what this would be. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But make sure you are getting involved in the comments and the chat. Black Sheep says Jay was probably saying the same thing 18 years ago and Glazers took over. No, Jay was protesting against the Glazers 18 years ago. Black Sheep 19 at Old Trafford, and I've always protested against the Glazers. So it's not like I'm pro Glazer. I'm not. It's not like I'm pro keeping the debt. I ain't. It's not like I want to see the Glazers stay. I don't. My point is, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in and the Glazers go in 3 years' time, that's not what I want. But I don't think that means that's it, we're doomed. I don't buy into that narrative. That's the one thing I'll say. Jay Fader says he's not going to spend his own money though. It's just going to be a business deal ran in finance. Relaxation videos saying, I agree, Jay Motty. Fans begged Ratcliffe if he only guy buying now. Qatar rock up and bin him off. Disrespect is real. I get it. You got a better bidder, then you're going to go with the preferred bidder. So I understand that. But it's mad how it was like, before Qatar came in, people thought Sir Jim Ratcliffe was a good person to buy Manchester United, and now it's like 98. And I think a lot of it stems from this idea of keeping the Glazers on. I think if that wasn't the case, he would have a much bigger support amongst the fan base. But I think because there's this notion that he's going to keep the Glazers on, that's just alienating a lot of people. It really is. I'm going to... Bill O'Reilly says, whoever questions Jay's allegiance is a clown, disrespectful. Thanks, Bill. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. I think I've read all the super chats. Sorry, I just wanted to check. Listen, this is going to go on, right? It is. We're probably going to have I said this earlier, we'll probably have another story tomorrow saying, oh, actually, Qatar are going to make an 11th hour bid. I don't think this is the end of it, yeah? So we'll see where we end up. We're always going to be going live and giving you updates and putting on socials whenever we hear anything that looks newsworthy, and you can make your own mind up about this story. Hopefully I've shed a bit of light on where it's come from, and you can, decide for yourselves if you think it's reliable. I don't, to be honest with you. Good to see lots of people in the chat as well. Solo from United Agenda, go and check them out. Stu, Thomas, love you, Jay. Thank you. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the comments and the chat, even the ones that slagged me off. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. We're back later on with the preview for the Wolves game. The whole takeover thing is one issue that we've got at the minute. But for me, priority, get top 4. Because I tell you what, if we don't get top 4, Liverpool do. I don't know what I'm going to do. Honestly, it's going to be horrible, isn't it? But we will. Trust in Eric Ten Hag. I've been Jay Motty. This has been a Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.